Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make some little miniatures from Altoid cans I've seen these on Pinterest a lot, but I haven't gotten to make one yet, so I thought I would try my hand at it. And I ordered these little plush bunnies, and they have little hinged arms and legs from Amazon. And they're laying on my phone so that you can see the size of them. And I think these are going to be perfect for these little containers. And for the first one, I'm going to use some resin. Now, most of you probably use the Amazing resin, but because I use so much, I use it a large quantity. So I buy it by the gallon, and I don't buy the Amazing resin. And with the Amazing resin, it will, as you stir it, it starts to turn clear, and this doesn't do that. So it goes from this color to white when it hardens. But I'm mixing one of these little cups so that I think that this amount will be perfect to fill up this little can. And the reason that I'm pouring the resin in it is because I'm going to turn this one into a little ice skater. So I just stir it up until it's well blended. Now, if you don't stir it well, a lot of times it won't set up right. It will be very, part of it will set up and part of it won't, and then you'll end up with a mess. So just make sure that you get it stirred well, but you don't want to stir it too long because it does start to set up almost immediately. So I had it figured right, and this little cup was the perfect amount to fill up this little can. And I didn't mention that, again, this was an Altoid can. And all of these are either Altoid cans or Secret cans. And I painted these in the color buttercream. I completely painted the whole thing with 2 coats of the color buttercream. Now, the inside doesn't necessarily need to be painted, the inside of the bottom part, because most of these are going to be filled up with something. But just to make sure, I wasn't sure how much would be showing of each of these. So I just went ahead and base coated the whole thing. Now it says this sets up in 10 minutes or less, but it's definitely less. This probably set up in about 3 to 5 minutes. And I find that when you pour larger amounts of this, it sets up even quicker, and you'll feel it really heat up. And I think that that's what causes it to set up. So here is one of the bunnies, and I'm going to pose him like an ice skater, and then just take some little wooden pieces and from popsicle sticks and glue them to the bottom of his feet. But I did, or my sister did, use some of the zinc gilding wax on those to make them look like the blades of skates. And then again, we just hot glued them to the bottom of his feet. But to glue it to this resin, I needed to use the Type Bond Quick and Thick or something strong like that. And I'm taking a small piece of wood and gluing it first to the bottom so that it has a better base to glue onto. And then I will just glue that. I will add some of this glue to the bottom of the skate blade and to the side of this little piece of wood, if that makes sense. So the foot will rest up, the front foot will rest up against that, and glue to the side of it, and glue also to the resin. And then on the back side of this little piece of wood, I glued a length of popsicle about the length of his leg, and glued it back behind his right leg so that it would help hold him straight up. And this is where I realized he wasn't standing up good. So I took that little length of popsicle stick and glued it down beside him in the back. So I just glued it to that piece of wood at the bottom, and then I glued it down the side of the bunny in the back. And I just used hot glue for that. Now after I got him glued in securely, then I just tore a little strip of fabric and tied around his neck for a scarf. Now I could have added a little toboggan, but I just didn't feel like it was worth the trouble. I think he looked like a little ice skater with just that scarf tied around his neck. And then obviously when you add something to a bunny's head, you need to make sure that those ears stick out. So again, I just felt like this little scarf was enough. And I thought that I tied this on, but I didn't tie it on. All I did was glue it. Now the good thing about this little project is it can be used not only for Christmas, but also for winter. And I think these would make wonderful little gift items. Now, since there's very little skating area here, I didn't want to add too much to this, but I decided to add a little. But first I need to do something to the inside of the open lid. And here, to make this look more like ice, I've already added some Mod Podge over the top of the resin and just very lightly sprinkled it with baking soda. And now to finish off the inside of the lid, I'm just taking a napkin that I was gifted, and it has just some very light trees in the back. You can barely tell that this is trees, but that's what I want as the backdrop. And I just decoupage that to the inside of the lid, and that will be my backdrop. And then once I got that covered, then I just took some little tiny cuttings from some faux greenery and just kind of made some little trees or bushes in the background. And I just glued those on with hot glue. And then I took some distress ink and just kind of went over the can here and there to make it look more aged. And then I took a small label maker and made a little label for the front there that says Winter Wishes. Now for that part, you could just stamp that on directly onto the can, or you could stamp it onto a piece of tissue and glue that onto the front of the can, or just handwrite it yourself. And then that's all that I did to this one. I wanted to keep it kind of simple again so that there would be plenty of ice surface for him to skate on. And I forgot that I added a few more little greenery pieces in the back, and then I just took some white paint and kind of dabbed over the top of them to make them look snow covered. And I just love how this turned out, and these are really fun to make, so I can see myself making several of them. Now again, you can use Altoid cans or secrets, or just a number of little containers actually. So Hisea reached out to me and wanted me to do a review on their outdoor footwear. And so I happily agreed, because many of you know that my shop is also at a landscape yard, and that's where my husband works. And he runs the yard and I run the gift shop. And so there are lots of times that even I need to go out to one of the buildings to retrieve some items to bring into the store. And he is very hard on boots, so he is always looking for good boots. And I have a problem with sciatica, so I have to be really careful what I wear. And because of that, instead of unboxing these boots on video like I see many people do, I wanted to go ahead and wear mine and I decided actually to wear them a couple of days. These are the ones that they sent me, and they are waterproof boots. What I love about these is, first of all, they have a good sole, and you can see I've worn them. But they have a good sole, so they have a lot of cushion underneath them, and I work on concrete also, so that actually is helpful to me. But I wanted something that was warm, because right now with the weather being the way it is, my feet get cold. And but I also wanted something that would keep my feet dry and would be easy to get on and off, and these fit the bill. A lot of them have the little strap back here so that you can pull them up easily with your finger, but many of them, this little loop is way too small to get your finger in, and this one has a good loop. But not only does it have that, it also has this one. But they're so easy to get on, so you just slip them on. Very, very easy, and they're so comfortable. And then they just slip off just as easily. So, and these are the ones that they sent my husband. Now this is the color that I wanted originally, but in the size and style that I got, they didn't have this color. So I had to take the gray, which I still like. But these, the thing I like about them also is that they're in a very good price range. And on top of being very reasonably priced, they come with a lifetime warranty, and I thought that was very impressive. And here's my husband at work, and you can see we have kind of a rough parking lot at times after a rain, and so a lot of times he wants to wear waterproof boots, but he still has to work with them, and these just seem very durable and comfortable. And one of the main things is he's up and down all day on and off that Bobcat. So it's very important that he has comfortable shoes. And even I have to go in and out of some of the storage buildings to retrieve items for the store. So I need comfort and sometimes water protection also. And Hisea Boots was kind enough to offer a 15% discount to all my viewers just by using my discount code OSC for our Shabby Cottage. And I will include the links in the description along with that code. And now for the next one, I've already added some scrapbook paper to the top, and now I've made a label for this one. And I actually centered that label wrong. I wasn't happy with the placement of it. So at some point I go back and cover it with another piece of that scrapbook paper and just redo my label altogether. And then I made a very haphazard mattress here just by taking some coffee stained tea towel and folding it a few times. I didn't even worry with stuffing it. I just folded it enough times till I got the thickness that I wanted, and then I folded the edges over and secured them with hot glue underneath. And then I just took a small piece of ticking fabric and glued some of the tea towel underneath it and folded it to have a finished edge, and folded that over the top of the ticking fabric. And that was just to make it look like the sheet was folded over the top of the bedding. So then I just cut it a little bit larger than that can and then glued it down in all the way around. And the good thing about these is they can be a little haphazard, and they don't have to have tons of detail to them since they're so small. And to make a little pillow for him, I just took that same coffee stained tea towel and rolled it up again. I didn't stuff the pillow either. I just rolled it up till I got the thickness that I wanted for the pillow, and then I cut it the length that I wanted it and folded the edges underneath, securing them with glue. And then to make him a little nightcap, I didn't get this one on film, but I just cut a couple of triangles from some fabric and glued both of them together. I didn't even worry with turning right sides in or any of that. I just glued them together and down the sides, but left the bottom of it open. And then I put that over the top of his head and cut out for the ears. And then I just kind of glued that bottom in place down around his face. And if you look closely at it, it's not perfect in any way, but it just kind of gives the illusion of a little nightcap, and I just thought it needed that. And then I decided, since this can was red underneath before I painted it, that I would take my little finger sander and bring some of that back through, since I do have some red touches. I wanted this to look kind of older, and I just thought it would look good with that red showing through. And then after I finished that, then I took some antique oxide ink and went around the edges and some places on it to make it look older as well. And then to neaten up that lid around the edges, I just added some little trim around it with some hot glue. And I think that really gave it a much better look. And I think this tiny rickrack is a good option for this, or a good choice for this. And here's the little label maker that I used to make these little labels. This one actually belongs to my sister, but you can get them at a very good price at Walmart. They're not very expensive at all. And I also used my antique ink and went around the edges of the little label to give it more of an aged look. And then I just cut it apart so that it would fit on the lid, and I ended up just doing a few lines and glued that to the top. Well, I didn't have to glue that to the top, actually. These are sticky, of course, and so I just peeled the backing off and stuck it to the lid. And because this one is Christmassy, I wanted something on the front of this one. It looked a little plain, that the front edge of the bottom part of the can. And so I thought, since this was Christmassy, I would just do a little Christmas stamp that says Merry Christmas on it. And then I took some hot glue and glued down the seam where you couldn't see and to help it stay open, because for the most part it would stay open, but it kept trying to fall somewhat. Now when I stamped this, I had kind of a happy accident. It didn't stamp really well, and there was some of the letters that I needed to touch up with a marker. So as I was touching those up, I noticed that it just wasn't blending at all. It was a lot darker than the actual stamp. But because of the letters that I needed to touch up, it was in the word Christ. So I thought, well, why not make Christ darker than the rest? And if I had thought to do that in the first place, I might have done that anyway. But I just liked the way it looked when it was finished. And then I just took some little wooden beads and glued them on the bottom of the can with some Titebond Thick and Quick, and made some little feet for the bed. And I think this one ended up being my favorite. It was my sister's idea to put that little saying, "The bunnies were nestled all snug in their beds," and I thought that was just perfect. And another thing I didn't mention is I stuffed a little candy cane there beside him in bed, and I thought that added a little extra touch. Now this next one is not even one of those cans. This one is I think my sister's dog's collar came in this. And so I decided to make it into one of these as well. And so again, I just gave this one 2 coats of the color buttercream. And then I decoupaged a napkin along the sides of this one. And this particular napkin had a little round image in the front with roses in it. So So after I covered the outside of this can and trimmed away that excess, then I also cut out a couple of those circles in the napkin that just happened to fit perfectly on the top and inside of the top of the can. And so that was just perfect for this little, and this one will be more of a shabby chic look. And I just decided, since I did the last one in Christmas, I would just go ahead and make this one Christmas too. I know I said that I was about done with Christmas decor, but I just felt like this needed to be for Christmas. So there's that image that I went ahead and cut out, and then I stuck it on there with some Mod Podge and decided to do the inside of the lid also, since that same napkin had another circle on it. And I think this napkin was given to me by a very sweet viewer, so it really worked perfect for this little can. And then once this was completely dry, I just took my little finger sander and cleaned up all the edges. And I also took some of my distress ink and went around all the edges and even some on the smoother surfaces to give this more of an aged look and make this look like an older tin. And if you don't currently use distress ink, I feel like you're missing out, because it makes such a difference on your projects for just very little cost. And this is a little ink blending tool that I use to apply it. And I will try and think and add those in the description of this video. And because this is going to be a little shadow box of sorts, I needed a floor. So I decided to use some scrapbook paper and decoupage that on the inside of the bottom part of the can. And then I used a little paper lace heart as kind of an area rug here. And this was given to me by a very sweet viewer also. And I just antiqued around the edges. And I know that typically little area rugs are round or square, but I just decided, since I had this, to use this as the little area rug. So I just glued that in the center of the can. And then I had this little bottle brush tree that had a little base on it already, and glued that on and added some little beads for the ornaments. And then I made a little chair for it. And somehow I thought I was filming that and didn't get it filmed, but I used a very simple design for this chair, and it looks like it has more time put into it, but all this is a little drawer pull, and I glued a little wooden heart on top of the glue of the drawer pull. And then I took a piece of cardboard, and I think this is just cardstock, and cut it flat on the bottom and round on the top, the length that I needed it. And then I just glued that along the outer edge of the heart. And I even glued into that little indentation there at the top of the heart. And although this wouldn't be a very comfortable chair because of that, it makes a cute little chair for this. So now I'm using just some cording to go around the edges. And I don't mind that it's silver, because I'm going to be painting this whole chair in the color buttercream. So I just give this 2 coats of the color buttercream. And it was just a very simple way to make a chair. Now, you could do that with a little round piece of wood, or you could even use some sort of a jar lid as the seat. If you had a small jar lid, you could just put the open part of the jar lid downward, and then the top part could be your seat. So you can just make little doll furniture or little miniature furniture out of almost anything. And so here I've put 2 coats of the color Buttercream. And then I don't even think that I clear coated this when it was finished, because I don't think it's going to matter at all. You could finish this off with a clear coat. Now, after I painted this, there was a couple little areas, as you can see there on the side, where the seam is somewhat open, where the seat is attaching to the back there on the side. And to fix that, once this dried, I just took some hot glue and filled that in with hot glue, and then I painted back over the top of it, and then you couldn't even see it. But I think it's fun to just kind of play with little items to make little miniature furniture. And this one honestly didn't take me very long at all to make. Now, because this bunny is pink, I didn't like the pink ones quite as much as the other colors. I just took some of my Distress ink and kind of went over him in places to give him a little bit more of an aged look. And now I'm taking a piece of lace, and I folded the top over so that would be kind of the collar of the dress. And then I cut a little slit where the arms go and stuck the little arm through that, and then glued it together in the back. So this was a very, very simple little dress as well. I felt like she needed to be a little bit dressier, since this one is shabby chic. I could have put a bow on the top of her head. I didn't do that, but that's also an option. You could put a little necklace on her if you wanted to go to that much detail, but I just kept mine a little bit more simple. But although some of these are Christmassy, you wouldn't have to do these Christmassy at all, and they would make cute little gift ideas that you could date. You know, you could even make one each year for a grandchild or just anyone and date them. And I just think this would be a fun little hobby to make these. And I just cut a little piece from a doily and used as a little chair pad for this. And then I just glued the little bunny into the seat. Now, if you made several of these and you sold them in your store, you could even name your little bunnies, and you could even give the whole idea a name, so that you had a little section that you had these in, and they all had the same name, but then each individual name had an individual name besides, if that makes sense. But I didn't do it here. I was just trying to get this video done. Now, I took some little pieces of styrofoam and cut them and wrapped them just with some napkin to make those little gifts. And again, you don't have to go to a lot of detail. And here are some of the other ones that we made. My sister made this one here in the front. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.